Been a couple of weeks, but the Belleville Sens podcast is back. Season number 3, episode number 10 here on the Belleville Sens Entertainment Network and wherever else you get your podcast. David Foot and Brock Ormond back, and you've missed a fair bit in 2 weeks. 7 games or so. The Sens go 4-3 over that span. They lose once to Laval. They lose a couple times to Syracuse. They beat Toronto. They beat Laval in another game, and then they sweep the Bridgeport Islanders this past weekend on the road. The midway point of a 5-game road swing has passed. It will finish this weekend in Winnipeg, Manitoba against the Moose, and we will preview that for you. We will get you caught up on last weekend and any other highlights that you might have missed over the last couple of weeks. Plus, Brock's going to catch up with the international figure skating star Kaetlyn Osmond. She, Elvis Stoico, and a whole cast of all-star skaters will be on the ice here at CAA Arena this weekend for the Stars on Ice Holiday Tour, and we'll also catch up with an old friend, now foe on the Bridgeport Islanders. Former Belleville Senators goaltender Marcus Hogberg will be one of our guests this week as well. Now, before we get going, don't forget to subscribe to the show wherever you're listening. Toss us a rating and a review. We'd really appreciate that as we roll into the holiday season. Brock, it's hard to believe December's already here. Sens have played just about 20 games and are having a pretty good run so far.
Yeah, pretty competitive hockey for sure, and nice bounce back too. Mentioned or alluded to with Bridgeport, 2 big wins. Close games, as per usual, tends to be the case for the Sens, and nice rebound after a tough loss on the road in Syracuse. They come into Bridgeport and they take 4 massive points, 2 big victories, and doing it in a comeback style on Sunday. So that was outstanding stuff, and seems like the Sens are still very much in position right now, but they got a lot of hockey left to play, and they got some great opponents to have to try and beat as well, with the likes of Cleveland, Toronto, Laval, Rochester, Syracuse, all right there in that mix. So it makes for another exciting season of AHL hockey for this Belleville Sens squad. There
were some frustrated giggles, some frustrated laughter on the way home from Bridgeport on the weekend because, everybody's looking at the standings right now, and again, Belleville is 9-4-0-4. Like, they've only had 4 games of their 17 that they haven't earned a point in. And that's pretty impressive. And then you look at how this team has been doing on the road this season, in the middle of this 5-game road swing and coming off a couple of wins on the road. By points percentage, the Belleville Senators are the second-best road team in the American Hockey League. They've played 1 less road game than the Hershey Bears, who are 8-0-2-0 on the road. Belleville 6-1-0-2 on the road. And you look at that and go, great. I mean, this is a top team. Again, one of the best teams on the road in the American Hockey League, and then you swing back to the overall standings here in the North Division, and Belleville still sits 5th, barely in a playoff spot. Not that we're really thinking playoffs right now, but for the visual anyway, they've done all this work. They've played some really good hockey, but so has everybody else in the North.
Yeah, and that's the sticking point of it all right there, is you got so many teams that got off to great starts. You got Laval and Toronto, who both were off to undefeated starts at one point, not just a couple games either, like about 6 or 7 or 8. And then Belleville, took a few points from them, but they're still sitting behind them because you got Rochester and Cleveland now who's gone on a surge. So it's unbelievable to think that Belleville, with the record they have, the points they've accumulated, and the great road record you have, like you mentioned, they're still sitting, like I say, right in that same spot they were last year, which was in a wild card series spot. And it seemed to work out for Belleville pretty well last year, but they'd rather not get in that same situation again because those best of 3s can be so unpredictable. But like you said, this North Division is so tough and intense and tight. And like I say, it makes for competitive games because you don't know who's going to win on any given night. And you got to think there's going to be 1 or 2 goal games every night because of how close they are. And even you got Utica, look out for them. All of a sudden, they've started to go on a 4 or 5 game winning streak, and they're now in a better position. So it's weird how hockey goes, weird how the AHL goes sometimes. But all of a sudden now you got to deal with 7 or 6 other really strong teams.
Yeah, the Comets lost their first 13 games, whether in overtime, regulation, or shootout. But as Brock has just alluded to, they've rolled off 5 in a row and have, I believe, the longest active win streak in the American Hockey League Right now, the Colorado Eagles have a 6-game point streak, but otherwise that's it. So, the North, once again, as it always seems to be the class of the league, and it's one of those situations where Belleville is far from out of it because there's still 50 games plus left to play in the season. Like, they've got plenty of time to make up the 7 points between them and the Cleveland Monsters. The other thing is the Sens have 4 games in hand in Cleveland right now, 3 games in hand on Laval right now. So it's all going to even out because we're talking about the playoffs far too early. But the point is, it's really tight right now. And even if Belleville had earned those extra 4 points from those shootout losses, they'd only be up to 26 points, and that would still have them in third. Not even in first or second. So, again, just an example of how strong the North Division is. And Senators have maybe a bit luckily been getting a bit of a break from the North Division here this week. The 2 games in Bridgeport out in the Atlantic last weekend. We'll head out to the Central, to Manitoba this weekend for a couple games against the Moose, and we'll tee those up, coming up later on in the program. But maybe just a thought, Brock, on the importance of these out-of-division games and picking up those points. We talk all the time about, how crucial it is to win in the division and keep points from your opponents that you're directly chasing, but you got to pick up these points in these other situations as well.
Absolutely, and Manitoba's always been a good opponent for Belleville to play as well. They've given the Sens a tough ride over the course of their history against each other, and like you said, those points are exceptionally important because if you can't win against Manitoba, you can't get points against another division, you won't get those chances back, and it makes it that much tougher for you to try and come back and step over top of the North Division, because chances are the North, they're going to be picking up points as well down the line. So it's very important to come out with the same kind of game plan. And even though you don't play Manitoba, a team like Manitoba as much, you got to still put in the effort and put in the same sort of game plan that you have against a team like Syracuse or Toronto. Even though it's you don't see those teams too often. In fact, Manitoba doesn't come here I think till late February. So it's one of those things where Belleville, those points, and Dave Bell will tell it to them too, just as important as the ones against the North, because like you say, you can't get them back if you don't get them right now. So it's huge, and the Sens, if they play like they did on the weekend against Bridgeport, then it should be they should put them in a fine position. Again, those tighter checking tense games that where you need only 1 goal to win, it's so important, and Manitoba is one of those teams as well that can put a tough go against you.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll get more into the Manitoba Moose coming up later on. We want to get you to Marcus Hogberg, the former Belleville Sens goalie, now suiting up for the Islanders. And I'll just say the Islanders, generally speaking, because the day after we left Bridgeport, Marcus Hogberg got called up to New York to the NHL. So he's in the Islanders system right now. But it's an outstanding story, and always nice to catch up with a player who has so much history in this city. 4 seasons here between 2017 and 2021. He left during the pandemic and went through some stuff at home with his father passing away, and decided it was better to stay home. I'll let him tell you the story when we get to him in a little bit. But great chat with Marcus Hogberg coming up. Again, we'll hear from Kaetlyn Osmond as well, and get you set for these games in Manitoba. Just maybe a couple more minutes here, Brock, on the last couple weeks for the Belleville Senators. Basically a 500 stretch. They finished the month of November with a pretty good record. We've talked about how good they are on the road. What are you seeing from this team that's leading to this success, or at least this competitiveness that they've had here throughout the course of the year from puck drop?
Yeah, it's the standards that they've set right from the start, and it's the thing that Garrett Pilon, captain, and Coach Dave Bell said right off the top, setting those standards of putting in a good, honest effort. And outside of one game basically this season, in Syracuse, that 7-1 loss on Wednesday, last Wednesday, I should say, it's been every single game the Sens have been in it, and that's pretty much the hallmark or the cornerstone of this group, is they play very well in lower scoring, tighter checking games that are, it takes 1 goal, 1 game breaker to make a difference, and the Sens have had that. And on the weekend it was guys like Wyatt Bongiovanni and Zach McEwen coming back and getting a goal to ensure the victory. And it's guys like that already know the system well, the organization very well, and it seems like the commitment to shot blocking as well has been so huge for this group. Defensively, Donovan Sabrango's done it. Nick Montempolo's done it. Jorian Donovan's starting to get involved in the physical side of the game, so it's a whole team effort. And every team says they're close-knit on and off the ice, but this Sens team, we kind of talked about or alluded to it before going on, David, that this Sens team is very, very close, and it's all thanks to the standards that Coach Bell has set, Dylan Hetherington last year's captain set, and now Garrett Pilon's continuing it this year. The guys play for each other, they work for each other, and they care a lot about the success that each other has.
And I think the last thing, maybe one of the most important words that you can hear used down there is accountability. You talk about that standard. It's not about just telling people what the standard is. It's about holding them to that. We saw that firsthand from Garrett Pilon, as you mentioned, on Wednesday in Syracuse. The effort wasn't good enough. He and the coach both came out and said that. Everybody took that message to heart. It resonated, and look what the results were in Bridgeport. Not only 2 wins, but one really solid defensive shutout victory, and then a come-from-behind win as well, showing that grit, that determination that we know this group has a whole lot of. We can't count out the special teams as well. Belleville has scored 3 straight games with a power play goal, and the penalty kill has been outstanding. Belleville, on their last 14 penalty kills, 14 for 14. It's an outstanding number, and something we'll continue to follow throughout the course of the season. We'll have perhaps some more thoughts on the special teams. We will chat a little bit more about the weekend in Bridgeport when we come back, when we catch up with former Sens goaltender Marcus Hogberg. Kaetlyn Osmond coming up later on, and then again we'll get you ready for a weekend in Winnipeg as the Sens head to Manitoba to take on the Moose. So all that and more coming up on this 10th episode of Season 3 of the Belleville Sens podcast.
Skate into the holiday season with the Stars. Stars on Ice 2024 Holiday Tour with figure skating icon Elvis Stoico, Olympic medalist Kaetlyn Osmond, Caitlin Weaver and Andrew Poche, Keegan Messing, Satoko Miyahara, Elijah Balde, and more. Stars on Ice, coming to CAA Arena December 8th. Unwrap your tickets at starsonice.ca.
You are listening to season number 3, episode number 10 of the Belleville Sens podcast with myself, David Foot, and Brock Ormond. Sens are on the ice for their last practice on home ice. They got to touch it for a couple days, at least in between road trips. That trip that just ended, Syracuse to Bridgeport, was about 6 days for the guys. Got back around 2 a.m. on Monday morning. Monday was an off day, Tuesday practice day, recording day here for us, Wednesday, December the 4th. And then tomorrow, I think it's an early afternoon flight to Winnipeg for the guys. So that'll be a travel day, and then settle into blustery downtown Winnipeg, Manitoba for a couple of meetings with the struggling Moose. It's been not a great start for Manitoba, and we will talk about them coming up a little bit later on. In this segment, we want to just go back to Bridgeport quickly because, the Senators had a really good weekend's worth of games there. Outscored the Islanders 5-2. As we mentioned before the break, a shutout victory on the Saturday, and then a come-from-behind victory down 2-0 on Sunday. When you get to this point of the season, you start to get a little bit of everything. We had all those shootouts earlier on. Some teams wait weeks or months before they get into shootouts and overtimes. Now we're starting to get into, those shutouts, those comebacks, a little bit of everything. They were blown out the other day, which means they're due for a blowout as well. You're seeing a little bit of everything, and I just keep being very impressed with how this team seems to respond to all of those challenges, all of those bumps, if you will, all of those arcs and troughs in the line graph of a season. This is a young team for the most part, but they've done a good job, I think, at processing everything that's coming at them.
Yeah, 100%, and it's you got to think that teams that you beat are going to start coming back after you, and that's what happened with Syracuse for sure. But it's ups and downs and peaks and valleys, and the Sens have weathered that storm pretty well. And like we said in the last segment, there hasn't been a whole ton of games where the Sens have really been out of it. And even that game, the Wednesday game, I mean, don't want to get too deep into it because it was a tough night for the Belleville Sens, but they scored first even in that game, so that's a positive to take away because at times the Sens haven't been quick off the jump to score first this year. So that's a positive, but everything else after that was kind of a downer. So, but the Sens, again, they battle hard and they understand that there's going to be peaks and valleys, and not every game's going to be a Rembrandt. They got to, just turn themselves around from a tough loss, and they did that against Bridgeport, and they did that well last year too, and that's part of the reason why they did win their first playoff series. They had that tough overtime loss after coming back late against Toronto. They then go on to win here in overtime in the next game. So it's one of those things where, again, a lot of people, and they'll understand, the young guys especially, it's a 72-game season. You're going to have some peaks and valleys, and you're going to have some lumps in the road and bumps in the road, but in all, the Sens still have to keep going forward towards their goal, and that's accumulating enough points and wins to get in a good position in the North Division, which so far, even though they're fifth, so they're third from the bottom, they're still not a fifth-place team at all with the way they played, and it should be very interesting to see how it all goes moving forward.
This practice, this drill, whatever's happening on the ice right now is extremely interesting. It's like they've got 2 games going on at either end of the rink, and then 4 guys just floating in the neutral zone trying to take pucks away and send the play down to the other end of the ice. It looks pretty frantic, but the one thing I will say is the guys are having a lot of fun, and Dave Bell mentioned that too after the game on Saturday night in Bridgeport, because we didn't talk to him after that blowout loss on Wednesday in Syracuse. We just heard from the captain and got his thoughts. And when we asked Coach about the response, how was practice on Friday, what have you thought? He said, look, the guys are working hard, but they're also having fun, and that's so important. And I think that, Brock, kind of goes back to, like you were talking about, the relationships in the room here, just the close-knitness of this group. It's a lot easier to have fun at work when you work with a bunch of your friends, and really that has been kind of the attitude around this bunch right now.
Yeah, absolutely, and you could tell even by that drill, again, very unique too, where you're just going back and forth, and there's different things going on, and it's a little chaotic, but it's not the worst thing in the world to have a little chaos in practice, a little control chaos, I would say, and that's what makes it fun, and you got to switch things up, keep things fresh, and over the course of this year, they've certainly done that well, and again, Dave Bell has learned from some of the best too, coaching-wise. Troy Mann, he was assistant coach under him, and coming in here to his second full season as head coach in Belleville. It's been nothing but great, and the guys do play for him too, which is outstanding. And when you have a bad game or a tough night where nothing goes your way, you just got to put it in the memory bank deep in there, forget about it, learn from it as well, and then move on forward and rebound. And certainly they did that. And the Bridgeport Islanders had to expect an angry Belleville Sens team this weekend coming in, and they certainly were. And it worked out really well. Nice to see Levi Merrilainen back as well to stabilize the crease. Malcolm Subban and Mad Sogard also out there as well. So the Sens playing some pretty solid hockey, and again, you take out just that one game from Syracuse, and it's been outstanding.
Yeah, you mentioned a couple of bodies back. Sogi's working his way back. Levy is back, returned with that shutout in Bridgeport on the weekend. Super impressive stuff from the Iceman, Levi Merrilainen. Some other transactions, Cole Reinhardt and Zach Ostapchuk have basically been in the NHL since our last show. They have not come back. Donovan Sabrango did go up to the NHL. He has since been returned, and Nicholas Montempallo has taken his place. So after scoring a goal in Bridgeport on the weekend, Manti gets called up and will get perhaps another look in the NHL here in the next few days. He did play last year a couple games for Ottawa, and I think that's it for transactions up. Michael Simpson was returned to Orlando, the ECHL, because Belleville now has 3 AHL caliber goaltenders in the stable right now with Sogard, once he's healthy, Merrilainen, and Malcolm Subban, who as well has got his black and red pads. So I know a lot of fans have been waiting for that, and that's always a nice sign when the goalie gets his new gear, because it means he's settled in and B, hopefully going to be around for a little bit. So that's exciting to have Malcolm around. That's how things looked on the transaction front. But talking about goaltenders, why don't we get to our first featured guest this week? We did play this interview on the show on Sunday on Belleville Sens game day, but if you missed it, wanted to make sure that all the Sens fans had a chance to hear from Marcus Hogberg, the 30-year-old from Örebro, Sweden, was drafted by Ottawa in the third round in 2013, came over to North America in 2017, played with the Belleville Sens primarily between then and 2021, but he also got into a bunch of games with the Ottawa Senators as well. On the Belleville Senators franchise lists, he is second or third in just about every category in terms of the all-time career numbers. And then when it comes to best stats in a season, Marcus Hogberg holds all of them from that 18-19 campaign where he was outstanding and really helped the Belleville Sens to a lot of what success they did have early in their tenure here in the Friendly City. So let's hear from Marcus Hogberg, and we'll catch up with him, find out a little bit about what he's been up to, and why come back to North America, a bit of that process with the Islanders as well. So former Belleville Sens goaltender, current Islanders netminder, Marcus Hogberg on episode 10 of Season 3 of the Belleville Sens podcast.
All right. Check 1, 2. In 3, 2, and 1. Back on Belleville Sens game day, and we're with Bridgeport Islanders goaltender, but a longtime Belleville Senators goaltender, Marcus Hogberg. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you, too.
Yeah, welcome back to North America, I suppose. Before we kind of get into that, take us through the last couple of years, I guess. Getting back home and spending some time playing over there. How was it to be back home for a little bit?
No, it was really good for me to bounce back to Sweden after a tough year in Ottawa with the Corona year, and then everything what happened with my dad. That was a tough year, so we decided as a family to go back home and just reset and then just try to build up myself as a person, but also a goalie. And now I feeling good as a person again, and having three kids, and I feel like I'm in a higher level as a goalie now. So now it feels so fun to be back here again.
Yeah, I guess a lot's changed in 4 or 5 years here. Let's talk a little bit about your time in Belleville. That was a pretty key time in your career as a younger goaltender. What are kind of your memories of that stretch and your time in Belleville?
No, I had a lot of fun in Belleville. I really enjoyed to play in Belleville, and as a city, I felt as home and had a great house there, and it was fun to play hockey there, and we had a really good group of guys there too, so it was fun.
Yeah, do you keep in touch with any of your former teammates from Belleville?
Yeah, a couple of guys. Had some, Philip Gustafsson and some Swedes, and Mike there too, the equipment guy there too. So no, that's that.
Yeah, it's cool to get those kind of connections again from a pretty key point in your career. Was it weird to see the B on the other side coming towards you last night?
Yeah, that was a special game for me as a former Belleville player. But no, it was fun, and I tried to just enjoy playing the game, and like I said, it was fun to meet Mike again, and you too, so it's fun.
So you go back home, you develop yourself a little bit more, you sort out all that personal stuff. Why the decision to come back to North America, and how did it work out, I guess, with the Islanders to ink you up?
No, the Islanders contact me and my agent, and they talked to me about their plan about me, and they believe in me, and go back here. I heard they get good stuff about Bridgeport and the islands too. We get treated really well with the facilities and traveling and all that stuff, and for me and my family to have a venture to see off the ice, New York, or and then compete for myself and try to have fun here too.
Is the whole family over here with you?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, yeah, that's got to be great, like an hour from New York City, and then be able to really show them some of the big landmarks over here.
Exactly. No, it's a great spot here, and no, I like it here so far, and like I said, good facilities and good coaches, good player, good group of guys here too. So I really enjoy it.
And lastly, obviously the goal is to try to make it back to the National Hockey League. What are your, your goals, your milestones maybe that you set for yourself this year?
Like the goals is, of course, to be up there, but I don't try to chase it. Try to focus right here and like try to practice hard and try to develop myself. I'm older now, so if I get a chance up there, that's good, and hopefully I take that. But I'm just gonna take day by day here and try to have fun and work hard and try to play good here and win games here.
Yeah, that's a fantastic mindset. Marcus Hogberg again spent 4 years in Belleville. Good to see you again, man. Congrats on everything, and we'll see you in a few months. So when you make the return trip.
Oh yeah, looking forward to it. Yeah, appreciate it.
All right, we'll take a quick break. We're back to Bridgeport on Belleville Sens game day in just a moment.
So there's 5 minutes with Marcus Hogberg. Nice to catch up with him. Again, it's been quite some time since Belleville Sens fans have obviously heard from him. For some, maybe even thought about him and how he's doing. But it's, anytime someone goes through some personal stuff like that, you love to see them bounce back. And again, he was just such a big piece of things in the early stages of this franchise getting established here in Belleville. So really nice to hear from him and see that he's finding some success on his return back to North America.
Yeah, 100%. And you love to see that for Marcus Hogberg, and he seems pretty happy to be in Bridgeport, Connecticut. So he's kind of built a new life for himself and his family, and he certainly is busy with 3 kids and his wife and everything, and the team and all that. And he's one of those guys that you like to see do well. And as a Swedish player, like we all love the Swedes here in Canada. You know, Oscar Pettersson, Jacob Larsson in the past, Philip Gustafsson, who he mentioned being a goalie partner with him here in Belleville. So. And he's having a lot of success, too, in Minnesota, I might add.
Yeah,
so
just a little bit.
Just a little bit, yeah, with a goalie goal earlier this year and everything. It's unbelievable. But, it's outstanding stuff for Marcus Hogberg. And his stats pretty good, too. Just a goals against average of .297, save percentage of .908. Even though his record is on the losing end of things, because his team's record's on the losing end of things, he's still putting up good enough stats, and he really was probably Bridgeport's best player on Saturday, too. Kept him in the game, and his team just couldn't score for him. So good on Marcus, and we wish nothing but success for him and look forward to seeing him in mid-March when he comes with Bridgeport.
Going to say March 15th and 16th, the Islanders are coming back. He told me he's looking forward to his tribute video when he gets back to CAA Arena. So you'll have to come to the game that day, 15th or 16th of March, to see if we get one. A little welcome back for Hoggy. We will take a quick break. When we come back, we'll shift gears a little bit. We're going to stay on the ice here at CAA Arena, but we're going to strap on the figure skates. And Kaetlyn Osmond will be our guest. She'll join Brock for a chat about the upcoming Stars on Ice Holiday Tour, arriving at CAA Arena this Sunday, December the 8th. So that's coming up on this episode of the Belleville Sens podcast on the Belleville Sens Entertainment Network. Stay with us.
The road to the World Juniors blazes through Belleville. The Belleville Senators and Bay of Quinte Regional Marketing Board present Team Sweden versus Team Germany, an official World Junior Hockey Championship pre-tournament matchup. Monday, December 23rd. Tickets just $23.50 for groups of 10 or more. Witness the next generation of international hockey stars. Sweden, Germany, December 23rd at 3 p.m. Score tickets at the Belleville Senators box office or online at bellevillesens.com.
All right, we're into segment number 3, episode number 10, season number 3 of the Belleville Sens podcast. David Foot and Brock Ormond here. We're going to shift from hockey for about 15 minutes or so because Belleville Senators are really excited to be bringing the Stars on Ice Holiday Tour to CAA Arena on Sunday, December the 8th. That's this coming Sunday if you're listening to the program on time. An outstanding roster of skaters set to grace the ice here at CAA Arena, including Olympic silver medalist Elvis Stojko, world silver medalists Caitlin Weaver and Andrew Pogier, former Canadian champ Keegan Messing, a ton of Olympic medalists and world championship medalists, including our next guest, former Olympic gold medalist Kaetlyn Osmond, one of the, I would say, most successful skaters in Canadian figure skating. And now I'm not an expert by any means on the sport, but have met Kaetlyn once when she was here in town a few years ago, and I think she was at our game, actually, one of our Belleville Sens games. And, yeah, I mean, you don't have to know a lot, frankly, about figure skating to recognize a lot of those names and to know that the show on Sunday is going to be a heck of a show here at CAA Arena. The first time it's ever been here, which is really cool.
Yeah, for sure, and it's a busy stretch of time, too, for the skaters. In December, I know you'll hear it in the interview, but Kaetlyn mentioned 11 shows in probably about, I want to say 15, 16 days, something to that. It's unbelievable how much work they get in, but she says she likes that because it's frequent and gets them on the ice, and they're in 5 different provinces. They're in a whole bunch of different cities, including Belleville, and they would have had a show the night before in Sarnia, so they come all the way down for this one at 4 p.m. on December the 8th. So it's incredible to see what they do and the work they put in, because it's not just a 20 minutes beforehand, everybody gets together to decide what they're going to do. This is a process, and you got to train in your own solo skates. You got to do pair skates for the pairs, group skates as well. So it's incredible stuff, and definitely makes you appreciate it quite a bit more. And of course, you see it on TV as well with all the Skate Canada events and Grand Prix events. But and you'll hear it too in the interview that. If you're not live in person at Stars on Ice watching this show, you don't fully appreciate it. And
Absolutely.
And Kaetlyn Osmond is one of those skaters that you have to see in person, because she's been outstanding over the course of her career, and retired 5 years ago, but now she's on Stars on Ice, and with some great skaters too, like we mentioned, Stojko and Weaver, Pogier, all those great athletes, and one of the few Olympic gold medalists in figure skating for Canada, so that's an outstanding accomplishment, and also a world champion as well. So you'll hear a lot from her in that interview.
Did you say retired 5 years ago?
5 years ago, yep.
Retired 5 years ago.
And she's not even 30 yet, which is incredible.
Imagine retiring at 23.
Yeah, and it's all the work that she puts in as a teenager too, because they start very young. It's kind of like hockey too, but except in hockey go a little further. Some go to their late 30s, early 40s.
Sure.
She's done at 23 years old.
Hey, you got your Olympic gold. You can check out, I think.
I was going to say, that's the pinnacle of your sport right there. If you don't get that, then you're chasing it. But she gets it at a young age, and she was great to talk to, and she's an outstanding athlete and a great figure skater, and one of the, I would say, legends of Canadian figure skating, because of the fact that she is an Olympic gold medalist and a world champion, 2 of the highest honors in your sport.
Legend at 28 years old. We will chat more about the holiday tour after the interview, but first let's hear from Olympic gold medalist in figure skating, Kaetlyn Osmond, here on the Belleville Sens podcast.
First of all, this event, the Stars on Ice event in Belleville, have you ever been to Belleville before, or the Quinte region, or anywhere this way?
Yes, I have quite a few times actually.
Oh, really? For what different events?
I taught a seminar there, and I think I've done a show there. I'm not 100% sure, but I've definitely been there to teach a seminar. I went to one of the hockey games there, and yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. So, for this type of event, Stars on Ice, what's kind of the overall feeling going into it in terms of, putting your skating skills on display, and all the other skaters as well, kind of commiserating with them? What's kind of the overall feeling of getting on the ice at CAA Arena?
Well, it's just so much fun, for one. And it's a good group of skaters that are together, and a lot of us have toured before together, so it's a big family experience for a lot of us. And then for performers, we often don't get to celebrate Christmas until essentially Christmas Day. So this is a great way for us to celebrate the holiday season with other people.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so for Stars on Ice, what does the event kind of entail for you specifically? Is it like a different, like an actual performance, a program? Like what does it kind of entail for you and all the other skaters?
Well, in the show, everybody will skate 2 numbers solo. So we'll have a Christmas, holiday themed one, as well as like just whatever else we decide to choose. So there's a little bit of mixture and a little bit of everything for everyone. And then there's group numbers, which I'm really looking forward to learning. We learn them in Corner Brook this weekend. It's all choreographed by Kaetlyn Weaver. So we'll be in and out throughout the entire show.
Oh, that's awesome. And now, how many different types of events have you been involved in terms of Stars on Ice specifically in this type of gallery type of show?
A lot. I have been on the Stars on Ice tour since 2013 or 2014. So I've traveled across Canada multiple times, Japan, and I've been in other shows similar to Stars on Ice across Canada and the world. So it's really cool to be a part of it. This is my second time doing the holiday tour, and it's actually my first time being on tour in 2 years. So it's a great homecoming for me. I got to perform in Nashville last week, and that was my first show in 2 years, and I can honestly not imagine how I forgot how amazing it is. So for me, it's a huge celebration to be able to travel with the tour again.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, the travel part, going to different cities and all that. What does that kind of do for your skating in terms of just getting on the ice and doing all this stuff, and also traveling and seeing different cities? What does that kind of do in terms of raising the profile of your career?
Well, I love traveling and I love Canada, and thankfully in my career I have the opportunity to travel to multiple places across the country. And one of my favorite things is going to smaller towns. I am from a really small town in Newfoundland, so to be able to travel and see more of those across the country is really exciting for me, and I get to see a lot more. I get to meet a lot of fans and seeing their journey and what they wish. And for me, every time I see that, it's inspiring and motivates me to continue.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so, out of the skaters that are in this event as well, how many have you skated with before? Because I know you mentioned Kaetlyn Weaver's name earlier. So
Yeah, so I've skated with Kaetlyn Weaver before. We've been on tour many times, her and her partner Andrew Poget. There's also Keegan Messing and Alaj Balde and Elvis Steigo, who I've been on tour with for many, many years. Stoko Miyahara has been traveling across Canada for the past few years also, and she's always such a delight to travel with. Jeremy Abbott and I spent 2.5 months together on a tour bus, so we got very well acquainted after a few months and shows and sharing emotions back and forth to each other. And this is actually my first tour with Gracie Gold, so I'm really excited to share that experience with her.
Oh, that's amazing, yeah. And the fact that you guys, like all the skaters and that, are so closely intertwined and traveling together and all that, is there kind of a sense of they're almost closer to you than your own family at some point, because you travel a lot with them?
At some points, it definitely feels like that. We get to spend so much time together, and we get to travel together. We fly together almost every day or every other day. And it's just nice to be a part of that. And you can see the connection that we have when we're skating on the ice. We laugh and joke around with each other. And as long as we're having fun, it makes it more fun for the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's amazing to see the chemistry too. And so the skates you're doing, you said you're doing multiple, so they're both single and pairs, or what? How does that kind of work?
So I'm a single skater, and I promise you don't want to watch me skating in pair. I've tried. It's not a pretty sight. But of course, Kaetlyn and Andrew are a dance team, so you'll see partnerships there. But we also have group numbers, so opening numbers and a closing number, as well as different transitions throughout. And that's when you get to see the more of the interaction between each castmate. And it'll be different every time. Sometimes we'll be skating together, sometimes we won't. It's still a mystery to me, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's always good to have kind of a surprise in what you're going to be doing. So, but in terms of preparing for it, do you have any opportunities to prepare any skates that you know, or is it just kind of you go in there not blind but close? But yeah,
my solo skates are my own, and I've been preparing those for the last few months and training those. I went to Nashville last week to do a show, and that was a little dipping my toe in the water to make sure I'm ready for this one, which I do feel pretty confident, so thank you. Yeah, so I've been training and working on those, and I was in contact with Caitlin Weaver over the last few weeks to see if there's anything that I should make sure that I have prepared outside of my own solos. So yeah. Like, there's time. I've been training for the last, 4 or 5 months to be able to be ready for this tour. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. And I know, shifting kind of more to your career again, I know you haven't retired from, competitive skating and that. Going on this tour, is there a difference in terms of, the Grand Prix and different things that you're involved in? Or is it in the Canadian figure skating season? Is there any noticeable differences between that and Stars on Ice, or what's the sort of differences that you notice with this type of tour versus competitive skating career where you're running for medals and such?
Yeah, well, it's been a long time since I've competed. It's been almost going on 7 years now since my last competition. So I remember those feelings. I remember getting nervous for competitions. I remember training multiple hours every single day, which is a little bit different from tour because I'm not aiming for medals. I'm not looking. That being said, I never really aim for medals. But I'm not aiming for results. I'm not aiming to please judges. I'm performing to please an audience and to enjoy myself with the audience and to dance with them and interact with them. And that is something that we can't really do in competition. So that is one of my favorite parts about Stars on Ice. And we get to perform it so often. So instead of just 9 performances in a year, which is typically what I would get as a competitive athlete, I get to do 11 shows in December alone. So it's a lot more frequent. It's a lot more exciting, I believe. I started skating because I wanted to perform in shows, and competitions were an added bonus to that. So for me, it's a dream come true to be able to perform there. And yeah. So it's very different. Their competitions and shows are not even comparable.
Okay, that's amazing, and so that's awesome to have you down here for sure for this event. And so in terms of people coming out to watch the show, like what would you say to them in terms of to try and get them out and get them supporting not just yourself but your fellow skaters as well to come to CAA Arena and watch you guys perform?
Well, if you watch skating on TV, it is nothing comparable to watching skating live. The speed, the atmosphere, the connections between the athletes, you don't see that on TV. And that's coming from someone who broadcasts and live streams for Skate Canada. So I really hope that people do come out to watch the show. It's really fun. And it's a great way to kick off the holiday season. December is such a fun month for me. It's my birthday and many members of my family's birthday, and then also the Christmas celebrations and New Year celebrations. So if anything, come celebrate my birthday with me, but also celebrate the holiday season. And it's a great way to connect with your own friends and family and have something to celebrate besides just not knowing exactly what to do.
All right, there's Kaetlyn Osmond here on the Belleville Sens podcast. Great interview, Brock. Always nice to catch up with somebody with that kind of background, pedigree. Like, you could talk to them for hours.
Oh, 100%. And she was, again, very lively, upbeat, and someone that, you could tell she likes talking about, all the effort she's done, her career, like all of the people that she's met and that. And it's, she's one of those people that is a great ambassador for the sport. And, small town Newfoundland girl, too, which makes it even that much better. You always love those East Coast people, and based in Edmonton right now, those you heard. So she's going from one end of the spectrum to the other in terms of Canadian provinces, but she's doing well, and she'll be one of those skaters that you'll get the chance to see live and up close if you come to Stars on Ice on December 8th.
Recording day is December 4th for us right now. It's a Wednesday, so the Stars on Ice Holiday Tour kicked off yesterday, December 3rd, in Cornerbrook, Newfoundland. They'll be in St. John's, Newfoundland tomorrow. That's December the 5th. And then, as Brock mentioned, they come to Ontario December 7th in Sarnia, December 8th here in Belleville. I've done that Sarnia to Belleville drive quite recently.
Yeah.
It is straight. There's maybe a turn the whole way, and so they'll be able to get here pretty easily. The Senators roll back in from Manitoba on that Sunday afternoon, the 8th. So if you're here for Stars on Ice, you might see some of the guys rolling back in, getting off the bus from Manitoba. But you mentioned it. It's 11 shows between December 3rd and the 22nd. So once they're done in Belleville, they're going to go back out west to BC for 3 shows, and then to Alberta, and then they come back to Ontario to be in Kitchener for 1 show, and then they go Saskatchewan, and they finish in Alberta. So they are all over the place. The Belleville show is one of the earlier ones, and they might need a little bit of encouragement to keep those spirits up with a long tour ahead of them. So we'd love a full building here at CAA Arena to welcome these world-class athletes, these world-class skaters to the city of Belleville, to the Bay of Quinte region. And for yourself, what an opportunity to see some of the best skaters in the world live and in person. We've all seen them on TV, but as Kaetlyn alluded to, it's completely different when you're in the building.
For sure, and you don't, like I said before, you don't fully appreciate it until you see it up close. And, having done the TV commentary and live stream commentary, she said seeing it up close and personal is just a world of difference. And it's kind of like seeing a hockey game in person. You don't fully appreciate the amount of strength and effort and determination, and also what kind of moves they can make when you're in person like that, or when you're on watch on TV versus in person. So thanks so much to Kaetlyn for her time, and I was so glad I got to chat with her last week. It was outstanding to get in touch, and I appreciate the folks from Stars on Ice for hooking us up. It's outstanding, and wish her and the rest of the skaters all the best of luck.
I was going to say a big thanks to Rob Bailey, who's been helping to sort out all these interviews with the skaters and local radio. Again, Stars on Ice is Sunday, December the 8th here at CAA Arena. Tickets are available right now at starsonice.ca. Don't miss your chance to see some of the best figure skaters in the world here on your doorstep at CAA Arena this coming Sunday. We'll take a break. When we come back, we will tee up what's happening before Sunday. Belleville Sens are headed to Winnipeg to take on the Manitoba Moose for 2 games on Friday and Saturday. That's coming up as Season 3, Episode 10 of the Belleville Sens podcast rolls on.
They're bringing you lots of hockey joy this December. Come out and holiday cheer for your Belleville Senators.
What a move! And the rebound was there, and the rebound is still there, and they score!
Wednesday, December 11th, 7 p.m. Your Sens play Syracuse Crunch, AHL affiliate of the Tampa Bay Lightning, for Gleaners Food Drive Night. Bring some non-perishable food items to donate to the Gleaners Food and Tri-County Food Warehouse. More info at bellevillesens.com. Happy Hockey Days!
Go, Sens, go!
We are into our last segment of the week on the Belleville Sens podcast. This is episode 10 of season 3. And lengthy practice out here this morning for the guys. They won't skate tomorrow, that being Thursday, the 5th of December. So they're getting their paces in now. Circle-to-circle sprints. The length of the ice is what Dave Bell's got the guys working on right now.
Including the goalies.
Everybody's got to skate when it's time to skate. And This is not a punishment skate. This is an effort skate. Again, these guys will give it everything they've got until they're told not to. Even the coach is getting in there as well. That's Stefan Legion in a race with the goaltender Levi Marilainen. And actually, Levi held his own. That's pretty impressive stuff from the young Finn. Big weekend coming up here for the Sens in Manitoba. Brock, again, will fly out tomorrow. We'll play on Friday night and Saturday night. Note the start time, Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time as we move into the Central Division for a couple of days. We mentioned earlier on that the Manitoba Moose have been a little bit of a struggling team this year. It's going to be a very similar situation to what the Senators were dealing with in Bridgeport this past weekend. A team that doesn't score a whole lot of goals, a team that has not been outstanding on home ice necessarily, and a team that's trying to figure itself out here still, 20 or so games into the season, whereas the Belleville Senators have pretty well figured out what their identity is. That should serve them well heading into a Canada Life Place this weekend.
Absolutely. It's a big building, too. It's, the home of the Winnipeg Jets and the home of the Moose, and it can be an intimidating building when the team is playing well and getting lots of opportunities. But, like you said, so far it's been a bit of a trying time for the Moose, but they always have great support, and it's outstanding to always see that rink because of the fact that, it is an NHL barn, and people have a tendency to really want to play there. But right now, dead last in the Central Division, 6-11, but they are 1 point behind Iowa because of the fact that the Wild have played one more game than them. And, 42 goals, tied for the fewest in the Central Division. They've also haven't allowed a whole ton, 59 goals. That's not bad, but 42 goals ties them with the fewest amount scored so far this season with the Chicago Wolves. So the interesting part is, too, the Sens normally have played teams like Grand Rapids and Milwaukee like they did last year. They played Milwaukee a couple years ago as well. So it helps, mold them into Manitoba. So the trip is a little bit longer, but this time it's only a 2-gamer in Manitoba. So, one flight out and that's it. You're back, and it makes things interesting, especially coming in on a flight, which is, something the Sens don't do a whole lot, being that they're in the East and they have a lot of their road games within driving distance. But it'll be interesting to see how the Sens respond against Moose team that is in dead last, but they also are a team that can win, and any given game an AHL team can win. So it's important for the Sens to start off strong like they did against Bridgeport and get those first goals, set themselves up for success, because there's nothing worse than going into a road game and falling behind a couple early and then having to chase it, which is something that they end up having to do against Syracuse after scoring the first. So starting off strong is important. Take that wild Manitoba crowd out of it and then get going with opportunities down at the other end. Try and get a couple more victories on the road.
And this Manitoba team, they don't have too many, standout stars necessarily at first look, but a guy like Tyrell Bauer, who was in scrap last year with Boko Amama, had his, got all bloodied up. That gained a lot of attention, obviously, on the social media. You got some veteran presence like guy like Ashton Sottner on the blue line, Chaz Lucius, an up-and-coming player in Winnipeg. CJ Cease has been around a long time. Axel Jonsson-Fjällby is in Manitoba now, and Dominic Toninato, who's been excellent for the Moose the last few seasons, especially against Belleville. So, again, while there's no I don't see Brad Lambert on there right now. I'm not sure if he's up in Winnipeg or not. But regardless, you've got to be on your game every single night in this league. It's the American Hockey League, as we say, and anything can happen. So I think you're right. I think if the Sens just kind of do what they've been doing all season, and it sounds cliche, and we'd probably say the same thing if the coaches said it to us, but just do what you've been doing, and you should be able to find that success.
Absolutely, and the Manitoba Moose are built so well as well, and head coach Mark Morrison is the type of guy that can really push the paces with his team. And funny enough, one of his assistant coaches is a former Senator, Morgan Klimchuk. So that's kind of another Belleville alumni update where he is. So it's nice to see him there as well. And goaltending wise, we've alluded to the importance of the play of the guys between the pipes. Thomas Milic, a World Junior gold medalist, and Kaapo Kähkönen, a nice pairing of a young guy, 21 years old, and a vet from Helsinki, Finland. And Kähkönen's been around too, so there's the type of guy that you're going to have to get on him early with shots and start pelting rubber at him and get in his face, because he's a fairly big guy, 6'2", 214. He doesn't. He probably wouldn't like it having guys right up in his crease like that. But you'll probably, this thing is mentioning both of them because you're probably going to see both of them on the weekend, I would think. I mean, I don't know what the thought process of the coaching staff is for Manitoba just yet, but you got to think that you're going to get hit with both Milic and Kähkönen over the course of the weekend, and certainly they're a lot better than what their stats show as well right now. Manitoba is always a competitive team. They've given Belleville, like I said, a tough go of it over the last couple years, and I don't doubt for a second that it's going to be two fierce battles between two teams that badly want to win and want to try and increase their standing at this stage of the season, and certainly makes everybody happier when you win, especially in a tough building like what the Canada Life Center is out in Winnipeg.
And you talk about seeing a familiar face in Morgan Klimchuk behind the bench. How about for Belleville Senators forward Manitoba Moose alumnus Wyatt Bongiovanni, who's going to go back to play his former team in Manitoba for the first time. Sens picked him up at the trade deadline last year after 34 games with the Moose, but the season before he played 56 games in Manitoba, and he had started with the Moose there 3 games after finishing up at Quinnipiac the year before. So he's got some ties. He's obviously a fan favorite here and was there as well. Always fun to see a guy go back to face his former club like that.
Yeah, that was a shrewd pickup, too, by Belleville last year, and look at how well he did with all those clutch goals late in the season and in the postseason as well. Nice to see him going back to his old stomping grounds, and I know you'll probably try and chat with him and
I would imagine so.
Get a little thought, a little inside baseball on what is happening since he left Manitoba, how he likes it in Belleville, and what he did, and what kind of was he up to in with the Moose, and what was it like playing for that organization, because it certainly doesn't hurt to be in the same building as the NHL squad and sharing pretty much the same facilities, and it's awesome to see him come back and put up the points he has. Again, he's just still getting up to speed with this injury that he suffered during the preseason, but he's back and coming through in the clutch again. Like we said, he's got that gene in him, and getting that go-ahead game-winning goal against Bridgeport certainly should fuel him and just serve him well going into his old stomping grounds.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how he responds to going back to a place where he played for a couple of seasons, and he's red hot right now too. Wyatt Bongiovanni had the game winner in Bridgeport on Sunday afternoon. He's one of the hottest players right now, and what a great opportunity to go back to your old team and show how well you've been playing after you were dealt at the deadline last year. And not that he's spiteful or in that kind of mindset at all, but you've always facts are facts. You've always got a chip on your shoulder when you go back to play your former team. Just like I'm sure Marcus Hogberg would have liked to beat the Belleville Senators the other day. That will be the mindset likely for Wyatt Bongiovanni when we get out to Winnipeg here this weekend. After Winnipeg, though, Sens get back home. December 11th is the first home game back. Belleville will actually play 6 of the remaining 8 December home games here at CAA Arena, plus the World Junior pre-tournament game, again, plus Stars on Ice coming up on Sunday. Senators only road trips in December as well, Boxing Day in Toronto, and 1 game in Laval just before Christmas. So the schedule will be busy, but travel-wise, the Sens will basically be able to set up shop for the month of December once they're home, which will be nice.
Absolutely, and it certainly doesn't hurt to be close to home for the holidays. And, like you said, that one trip to Laval is the longest, and it's a few hours. It's not too bad at all. It's been done plenty of times before, so it's nice to have that. And then the guys will have probably 3 days for Christmas or so, and then on the road to Toronto for that annual Boxing Day game, which should be a riot as well, as it always is. And at the big, again, the Leafs rink, Scotiabank Arena, already 1 win this year banked, so we should see some confidence going into that one as well. So nice to see the home game starting to build for the Belleville Sens, and looking forward to seeing how they can start to climb the standings and make their ascent in the North Division.
We will keep an eye on the lineup here this week as well. We'll see if anybody else gets any closer to returning. Again, Matt Sogard still on the shelf, Hayden Hodgson still on the shelf, and Jan Unique still out injured But Levi Marilainen returned. Zach McEwen is back from the NHL, and we barely talked about his impact on this week's show. We'll leave you with the highlight of the week, courtesy of Zach McEwen. But he's been a massive addition again. He's playing really well with Stephen Halliday. I think, as we've said, things are really coming together at the right time. And historically speaking, the Senators tend to go on a decent run around this time of year, December through the New Year period. They usually heat up a little bit. So I think the hope is that trend will continue. And if things go on as they have in recent weeks, there's no reason that shouldn't be the case.
Absolutely not. It almost seems like once they hit their stride, it can be dangerous for opposing teams because of the way they play. They went on that 6-game winning streak last year around late Christmas period, like late December into January, and that certainly fueled them and brought a lot of confidence and momentum to the group. And again, they're going to go through peaks and valleys, so they can't get too high from it, but certainly it does help them out when they're in a tough logjam that is the North Division. Every single year it's always difficult to rise, but the Sens will certainly do that and try to maybe at least get in the first couple of spots and if not, maybe win the division outright, but still lots of time left for that. Getting on a good streak here, building two road wins in Bridgeport, 2 in Manitoba, 4-game winning streak going back home. Hey, can't complain about that, and especially going against a team that has given them fits this year after Belleville gave them fits last year, the Syracuse Crunch, who are a very difficult opponent to say the least, and a building that the Sens have had a little success in.
December 11th, that's a Wednesday. That's the next home game when the Syracuse Crunch come here to CAA Arena. That's Gleaners Food Bank night. And our friends at Cobb's Bread in Belleville are going to have free scone vouchers for anyone who donates food that night. We've also got our holiday celebration game coming up. We've got our teddy bear toss this month. Belleville Bulls Tribute Night's coming up as well. That's next week, so we'll have plenty of Belleville Bulls-related discussion for you on next week's program. And our New Year's Kids Countdown as well, matinee on New Year's Eve. So lots to look forward to. BellevilleSens.com or Ticketmaster.ca for info on how to get your seats. You can bring your group out. You can get some premium seating. All the details you'll need are on the website. Plus, this weekend in Manitoba, again, keep note of the start time. 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday. We'll be on the air about 10 minutes to puck drop from the Canada Life Center in downtown Winnipeg. With that, we'll wrap up this episode of the Belleville Sens podcast. For Brock Ormond, David Foot here, thanking you all for listening. Thanks to Kaetlyn Osmond for her time and Marcus Hogberg as well. We'll leave you with this week's highlight of the week, courtesy of Zach McEwen. A little spinorama to add some insurance last week in Bridgeport. For now, we'll say goodbye. We'll talk to you next week on the Belleville Sens podcast. Hurrying a line change as Foodie comes away. Good stick lift by McEwen on the back check, and now Halliday's away the other way. Pinned up on the wall, able to get it to McEwen in the slot. He scores! Welcome back to Bell Vegas. Zach McEwen, a spinning backhand from the slot, has given the Sens some late insurance.